Now, this had killed the market for, of course. So now this had killed the market for, of course. Yeah. So at that time, most people were like questioning.
Mm.
Akantu ako lwaki kakola
Ate twakakanyiku akatuma automatically.
kansooka twogereko njakunyumiza. Now, babuuze. Okay. So, like you are saying that, of course, feminism is a range of social, political movements and ideologies that aim to define and establish the political, economic, personal, and social equality of the sexes. Now, feminism holds the position that modern societies are, of course, are patriarchal. They are patriarchal. They of course prioritize the male point of view, and that women are treated unjustly in these societies. Now, the efforts to change this include fighting against gender stereotypes and improving educational, professional, and interpersonal opportunities and outcomes for women. Of course, this was created by people who believed that they are fighting for the major cause for gender equality, more especially when it is believed that the society is, of course, is patronizing more. It prioritizes more of the male. That's patronizing the male's desires and, of course, objectives over the female. Now, this feminism issue originated in the late 18th century in Europe. Now, feminist movements have campaigned and continue to campaign for women's rights, including the right to vote, run for public office, work, and equal pay, own property, receive education, enter into contracts, have equal rights within marriage. Now, that's going to be the biggest issue today. Having equal rights within marriage and maternity, of course, maternity, leave. That's when, of course, a woman goes has a break when she's going to have after having a baby, all right, so that she can at least nurse herself
After
and a
having
baby
or
and
when
all
he's
that.
about to have.
Maternity leave anti tukibala wali.
Ngamaze okuzaa.
Mm.
I thought like someone is given like 2 months prior
Kyogamba bw'amala ozaala ng'akomawo.
after some time. Ngawo mwezi that
Maternity bava kuzaala Afirika abakazi baba tebamanyi ddi we bazaala. Omuzungu ekipapula kyo kiba kiraga. Kyo omukazi bw'aba agenda bakoze appointment n'omusawo gwaziba appointment. Agenda kuzaala nga tebikutte abruptly, bakuwa towards that week. Nogera n'ozaala n'obeerayo nga wejjanjabya, nga weerongoosa weenaasinga okola biki until n'okomawo. Ate kiba nga bakuwa oli lubuto tekitegeeza bw'ozaala oba olina kudda omwana ne bw'aba wa wiiki bbiri. I don't know, maybe that is how it is. But I thought bagenda kuzaala na kusooka kuwona. Now, feminists have also worked to ensure access to contraception, legal abortions, and social integration, and to protect, of course, women and girls from sexual assault, sexual harassment, and domestic violence. Now, changes in female dress standards and acceptable physical activities for women have also been part of feminist movement. Now, many scholars consider feminist campaigns to be a main force behind major historical societal changes for women's rights now, particularly in the West, where they are near universally credited with achieving women's uh, suffrage, gender neutral language, reproductive rights for women, including access to contraceptives, and of course, abortion. and the right to enter into contracts and own property. Although feminist advocacy is and has been mainly focused on women's rights, some argue for the inclusion of men's liberation within its aims because they believe that men are also harmed by traditional gender roles. Now, feminist theory, of course, which emerged from feminist movements, aim to understand the nature of gender inequality by examining women's social roles and lived experiences. Now, feminist theorists have developed theories in a variety of disciplines in order to respond to issues concerning gender. Now, numerous feminist movements and ideologies have developed over the years, representing different viewpoints and political aims. Traditionally, since the 19th century, first wave liberal feminism, which sought political and legal equality through reforms with a liberal democratic framework, was contrasted with labor based proletarian women's movement that over time developed into socialist and Marxist feminism based on class struggle theory. Now, of course, we know for a very long time, feminism, of course, came into the picture in the 18th century, and you see it, it started reforming within the 19th, and of course, until now, in the 21st century, we are still having this, of course, as something that the society looks at, more especially the educated people look at as a very important, thing. For a very long time, we know that feminism in Africa. Hello, guys. Hello, unthinking one. How are you doing? Thank you for joining us. We hope you're doing fine.
Alhamdulillah,
For a very long time, for a very long time, Africa has been against feminism, and until now, there's still a lot of excuses that and also complaints, I should say. If at all you do not look in the depth of this particular subject, in this particular subject, um, and if they decide to break down the aims or the purposes of this movement, you may think it is really something very great. But there are ways of fighting for the women's right. It is very absurd that there is a feminism right now. There is feminism today, not only in Africa but the entire world. But we have high cases of women's sexual harassment with, among the employees and the bosses. We still have the same with the people in power. All right. We've seen circumstances where women are supposed to offer their body, no matter no matter, of course, the credit they have towards having that job, but you have to offer your body in order for you to, of course, have this job. We have seen all the things, and they are existing in the same regime or in the same era where feminism is extremely high and extremely exercised. Now, feminist organizations today, I'll compare this to the same, like the United Nations organizations that compile a lot of agendas, but in the end, we achieve none. Now, we have seen these things throughout. Now, if you look at, if you like I was trying to explain to you, the agenda, the role of feminism, and that they promise to achieve has not been achieved, not even to a certain level, really. Because unless we have, even if a lot of people are not going to agree with this, but it has been so hard. The society itself has made it so extremely hard for, of course, women to achieve something on their own, or to achieve successfully something up to the top, unless either these women are self-employed and they are willing to go through a lot, all right, rejection and all that. Okay, but the majority of these women, even no matter how smart they are, you reach a place of work and you're going to get this job not on your merit, but because you are giving out your body for you to be able. A lot of women don't usually discuss about these issues. Very many women don't talk about these issues because it's a shame. And for me to start saying, I got this job because I gave in my body, then it is something that discredits me. All right. So you realize that a lot of women out there are still experiencing this, but yet we have feminism taking place. And the funniest thing is, feminism as it is, there are a lot of things that actually it shouldn't even be focusing on. That it is rather focusing on and neglecting the major thing that women would love to experience. Um, You cannot fight for someone's right when that person doesn't even know they are right. And these are the things that these are the issues that we have been experiencing. We have had a lot of things that have been, of course, brought different plans. You cannot talk about, you tell us about the rights, sorry, organizations that are fighting for specific rights, but again, the people that you're fighting for are not even aware that this is their right. We have not had women being sensitized. The only time these people are sensitizing issues about women, more especially in Africa, it's about it is okay for you not to have a man. It is okay you can raise your child on your own. It is okay for you to do blah blah and a lot. So I feel like, of course, like we've seen different people or different organizations coming in, coming as wolves but wearing sheep's clothes. Now, this is the feminism part. Because at times you look at a lot of women who are up for this, I'm a feminist this, I'm a feminist that, and at times you even ask them a question like, all right, you're a feminist, but what are you fighting for? All right. You as a woman, as a feminist woman, like you call yourself, what are you fighting for? And at the end you realize that the majority of the things they are fighting for are actually things that someone even should not be disagreeing about, or there are things that are not debatable. All right, because if I choose to wake up and say, Maria, I choose to do this is my decision, it is me wanting to do that. I'm not gonna wake up and say I'm a feminist because I'm looking forward to, of course, achieving great and all that. Everybody wants to do that, and everyone can achieve that. And the major thing that we are seeing in Africa, rather, is the feminism department has so very much concentrated on the entire African family. All right, now that is the topic. It is killing the African family. It is okay. I don't sound like I don't really care what women are going through. Even with the feminism taking place, we are not seeing women being protected.
Yeah, man. Like,
Uh, Hi, at home listening in for a bit. How is everyone today? Jijaba, we are doing good. Thank you for joining us. My body, my choice.
mm,
I don't need to. I don't need no man. Exactly. Um, there is, like I said, it is killing the entire family because this is apparently where the organization is putting much of its effort. All right, much of its effort. And it is okay for women to work. I'm also here working with an aim, all right, with a purpose. If I did not have a purpose, I wouldn't be coming here to work, all right. But with even the existence of feminism, we are still seeing women mistreated at work and extremely. Okay, we are still seeing women sexually harassed. We are still seeing women dying through the abortion. When you introduce free abortion and the free choice for you to abort a child in Africa, you introduce best services that can render that. Now, you're saying it is free for an African woman, whether she's in a marriage or not, for her to decide whether she should abort. Okay, that is the feminist law. It is okay for a woman to decide whether she should have the baby or not. But have you put the right measures for these women to be able to have safe abortions? This is why I say at times there are things people decide to bring down to Africa, but when they're not going to work for Africans. We are seeing a lot of women dying through the abortions. Every day, actually, Africa is reporting cases of young girls dying through abortion, um, a lot of things. Now, if you introduce such kind of a thing in Africa, yet you have not introduced services that are going to render this kind of you have not introduced facilities that are going to render this kind of services, then what is the purpose? Because at the end of the day, someone is still going to go in a particular area to carry out abortion, and it is not safe. And even the people who are carrying this out are not professional, and others are against this action. We have met that. I know someone who says he can never abort a child. He's a professional doctor. He says, no, I can never abort unless the pregnancy of this woman, unless the pregnancy it's of course an emergency, or it can lead to the death of both the baby and the mother. But if a woman just comes from nowhere, I've had issues with a man or something, unless you have been raped or whatever, a lot of people, more especially, unless for the money, by the way, some people are doing that for money, but some people refuse. There are doctors who say you can never come to the hospitals for abortion because they don't want to do this. That's their conscience, and which is okay. Now, you tell the women out there it is fine for you to do abortion, but the women do not have the services, more especially in Africa. You tell the women it is okay for you to fight for your right. You're going for work, it is okay for you to fight for your right as a woman. People have a way of understanding things. All right. And this is why we have a lot of female out there in the offices talking back to their bosses, insulting them, raising their voices. Someone cannot talk in a mature way. You are shouting at somebody like it's your child because you know you are a feminist. Nobody's gonna talk about me. You're not gonna tell me shit. We're not gonna solve this amicably. I must shout on top of my voice. The world should hear me. People have less sensitization. If at all it is okay for you to fight for my right, but do I know exactly what it is? And even before you start even talking about people's rights, because unless there is a lot of injustices, why should you think a specific type of sex or a specific type of sex or gender should be held with, extreme than the other? It is, feminist itself is a little bit weird. You talk about men mistreating women, but it is okay for women to mistreat men. Then are you not shooting your own foot? We have seen, and then when it comes to, of course, the human rights, it is a little bit funny because I feel like human rights, more especially in Africa, only work for women. We have not seen this kind of rights being, of course, this kind of rights are helping men, but rather women. There are lots of things that people really focus on, and there are other important things that the society should be focusing on than trying to break people apart, than trying to make someone feel supreme than the other, than trying to bring differences within people who woke up one time and decided to get married to each other. Because at the end of the day, the society is just a visitor. When people are dating, the society is always not aware. When it's time for people to break up, then the society has to make decisions for them. Everybody's trying to say this, the other one is trying to say that, and usually, um, if you look at the law, there is so much concentrate on the women. But again, like I told you before, but like I told you guys before, there is a lot that people should be focusing on. We had marriages throughout history. African marriage is not something that we have just dived into. We have had Africa in marriage. This is why even we are here, because our parents had their parents and their parents had other parents, and they were married and we are here. But there were a few cases of divorce. Give Jabba says it's against the Hippocratic Oath doctor's pledge to save lives, but they end up not saving lives. Check the oath to save life. Now they are taking lives. You realize that we still had marriages. Someone is going to tell you, before African women were going through a lot. They needed to do this. They were not treated good, and they were treated this and that. But we saw a very upright generation that was raised by these people, and we saw a very strong African generation. Yeah, we cannot say that in a society everyone is perfect. You have people who do a lot of, bad deeds, but the society raised disciplined people compared to this our era that we are living in now. Before the society raised disciplined people, we do not have these, but every man made sure that everything was delivered, and every woman knew their role. Even if we do not have a lot of offices to do with white collar jobs, you're going to office and that, but in a certain way it showed that women also had a lot to do as their men did, but everyone knew what they were supposed to do. um of course, we have seen a lot of women in big places, which is something beautiful to see. All right, which is something beautiful to see, because the world is a competing world. But and at times there, I always hear a lot of women, more especially those women in big places, that are still talking about being disrespected by their bosses, disrespected by other people they go out there to meet. And you realize that the environment in which they are working is a rough and tough road. But they have to persevere, they have to continue and work. The reason why we see women in these big organizations It's not because they wake up. There is no human rights activist or feminist, whoever person. So, so we have not seen like I was saying, women are up there, but it is a joint of both women and men for both genders to succeed. Because we have not seen a workplace where a woman is working alone. We have not seen a workplace where a man is working alone. The truth still remains that these both genders complement each other, because there is always a say that says what women, there is nothing a man can do a woman cannot do, and all, but the truth is there are things that a man can't do a woman can do, and there are also things a man can do a woman can't do. That is just the plain truth. But someone say, if a man can do this, we have seen men, we have seen women, we have seen women who are trying to, do a lot of stuff men can do. But there are some obvious things, of course, any human being can do this. So we are not going to look into that. The fact remains that both genders complement each other. There is no way you're going to live in a society or in a workplace that is only packed with women, and then you feel like that is a free society. You're not going to find a place which has only men, and then you feel like that is a free society. It was and it shall always be that both the genders need to work together in whichever sphere. You see, people will always, now you can before even we bring feminism in a picture, you can imagine, I'm not gonna say, you can imagine a world, let me not say the word. You can imagine maybe if there is a place like, let me say a country that only has one gender. Hmm? A country that only has female, maybe male, but there is no any other gender. Hmm? Do you know how crazy that place would be? Now we are going to, I'm going to connect this to single schools that we have seen.
Like the place which I first rented, like my mom used to ask me like, can you tell me about your neighbors? Then I told my mom that actually where the rentals where I live, we have women only. She was like, why? Abakazi balina obufujo. Simanyi oba onaavaawo awo.
Because you are a man.
That's what she said.
Any society that has only one sex, any society that feels
Never,
like for them,
but for men it is not always worse.
I'm going to look at single schools that are for boys, When you go to a single school now, this theory, I'm going to connect it to what I'm about to say. Something that a lot of women deny. When you go to single schools, and you've been to a single school before, a secondary school, you can bear with me. If it is a girls' school, you realize that there is a lot of abnormal behaviors that happen within the society, within that small society. You'll find that girls cannot even comb their hair. They'll just come to class, they don't really care. Somebody doesn't even care whether they're putting on smartly. They'll just come to class. They will come out, someone even go to shower when she's only wearing her inner knicker. She doesn't even care. People are always like they're buzzing. Their mind is always not there is nothing that puts them to order. You see? When you go to the single schools for the boys, you find boys are moving almost naked. The person who is next to you is not your brother, all right? But someone is moving totally naked. They are using abusive, dirty words. They maybe even the others will not even comb their hair. They're not looking smart. They don't even care. So you see, and now if you look at that society that is not in order, then you realize there is something that is really missing. Now there are a lot of women who tell you, I look smart or whatever it is because I want to. You can imagine, I said if there is a country that had only one gender, people would even be moving naked. Someone just wakes up with no top, with no bottom wear, gets a polythene bag or whatever, and goes to the bank, withdraws money because after all, it is a woman looking at me. People look organized for the opposite gender. The biggest reason. So a lot of women always debate about this. Nah, I'm doing this for my self-love. I'm doing this for my self-love. But if you're doing you find these people when they are in their own houses. If you are doing this for your self-love, find these people when they are in their own houses. All right? In their own houses, just put a camera in their own houses where there is no one there. Because if you are doing something for your own self-love, you should even do it when no one is seeing you. Go put a camera in these people's apartments and see. All right? And someone say, I'm not going out if I'm looking like this. And somebody will say, I'm doing this because I want to. And there is usually a kati njogere nga ntono ddeena bintu bya Winnie.
Winnie, I know amagezi agagira reasons why investigative reporter can lie to get information.
So the truth still remains that both genders need to, of course, complement each other. Both genders need each other in whichever field. But when you look at the major aim of course, feminism, it is trying to separate women from men and trying to show, more especially the female gender, you're greater than them, you can do better, you are this. You don't need to be told what you can do or not. But of course, we are seeing this as the major or the aim, the biggest aim of feminism, to separate the two parties. And the moment you separate these, that means the society cannot move or cannot generate perfectly.
So is it the reason why we see the so-called feminists, they look crazy?
Most of these feminists have no shame.
They're
At
even
least the
naked.
ones I've seen.
They're even naked just because they don't care about the other
And
gender.
most of them babasias.
Mhm. Mhm.
I've seen most of them are, I don't know, because of course feminism itself says it is a right for you to dress the way you find fit. So there is one particular feminist, of course, lecturer in one of the professors in one of the universities here who undressed himself in the university premises. She removed everything and she was totally naked with no even inner wear. She was a grown-up woman, in her late 40s. Oba n'ataano agaweza. In her 50s. She stripped herself naked in the presence of everyone. And she's talking about her dissatisfaction. And she said this is how white people express their anger. They have to undress themselves and show they're extremely angry. You're showing people that your nudity at 50 plus in everything is and even and she's a feminist, so for her this was okay for her to express her emotions. We have seen a lot of feminists. I can still recommend, at least the ones I've seen, they are people who have no value. Because when you have value, you respect yourself. Before, if something is going to be, if something is going to lead you to actions of disrespect against oneself, then that is not a purpose. If you don't care to strip yourself naked in the presence of everyone, the young children, you have even grandchildren, if your conscience cannot tell you that such kind of an act is a bad thing, then what? Now these are the so-called African feminists. And for her, she was even married. She even has children. Then when she grew along, after, because she has even grandchildren now, when she grew along after the marriage, I guess she divorced. After divorce, now she became a feminist. Now these are people who are educating young people who have not been married before. For her, she has been married, she has children, and now she's trying to impart what is preventing you from enjoying your marriage to follow her line when she has already created her own family aside. And anytime maybe she can even go back to her husband. But for you, she's creating issues and putting a lot of bullshit in your mind. And at times there are things that are not debatable. Because I believe if I wake up one time and get married, I make a decision of the man I want to marry, then why should the society decide how I'm going to live my life with my husband? Oh, Maria, oh, you cannot do that. All right. Oh, there are things that are not supposed to be debated about. It is normal when something is not right, it is not right. You don't need someone to discuss or tell you about it. So you cannot wake up and say, someone is beating you up, your eyes are swollen every time. Someone is physically, of course, violating you. There is too much violence in your marriage, and you need someone to tell you. That is what I'm saying. That is what I'm calling the respect. Everyone should have self-respect. Because when you wake up one time, there are a lot of important things that the feminism organization hardly talks about. If I wake up one time and someone turns me into a punching bag, today, tomorrow, and tomorrow next, all right, and it is stupid of me to think that, by the way, I've not dated anyone who has even ever lifted a finger on me. See, I've never, and in my life, I've even never lifted a finger that I'm trying to fight someone who, I don't know, because that kind of comedy, I'm sorry. I've never done that before. I've never been in a violent kind of relationship that someone should slap me. But yeah, there are mental violence that can be when someone, of course, is mentally, striking you or harming you. That is the psychological part. I've not been in a physical, and of course, the psychological part takes phases. When your spirit is done, it is usually done. I've not been in a relationship where someone is punching me, okay, and someone is beating you up or stuff. I've not experienced that before, because I don't. Even if maybe someone is trying to create that environment, I don't give room, because I've seen people lose their life in a very joking way. If I get to understand that someone loves violent things, then that person is definitely not my type. I've seen people lose their lives in a joking way. Someone hits the wife, you are hitting not to kill, but she dies.
But is that joking? Is that really
No,
joking?
at times you'll hit someone when you're angry because you can't control yourself, but not because you want to kill
So,
that person. And when that person dies, definitely. We have seen, I saw a man here. I saw a man on the internet who shot the son. They were having an issue, and then he was crying, I've killed him. Arrest me. I've killed my son. He was crying. He was crying. He could not control his anger. If I wake up one time and I don't involve myself, some people, there is always something, Innocent usually says that some other people think I'm dumb, all right? But it is not that my mouth cannot talk. I talk, guys. Don't you hear me talk? I talk. I can quarrel if I choose to. I know the insulting words because my ears have ever heard these words before. I don't need to be told the words to say. My ears hear everywhere. I hear people insult each other, so I know. And I know the language, so I know what it means. I choose not to be verbal. I choose not to quarrel with people, not because I'm a coward, not because whatever it is, but I choose this for my own peace. And at times, because you see, there are a lot of people actually who have lost their lives through this. Now, these are the things that at least we should have better organizations that are letting people understand. First of all, understand the reason you chose to be with this person among the others. If you know this reason is not strong enough to make you stay, go away. If you feel like the reason you are having this person is not strong enough to keep you around this person, go. Right? Now, feminism rather imparts that energy in the women's mind that it is okay, we can talk. If you box me, I can. It is okay. There are women who can box men. I've seen, but it is not the biggest population. There are women who can fight men, truth to be told, but it is not even a quarter of the population of the women in the world. So if you are imparting this kind of theories, that if you are in a home, you are all equal. We don't need to debate about who is equal and who is not. It is a matter of love and respect. Are you willing to let go? If someone if someone is doing something, are you willing to step down and let that pass? But no, feminism says you are equal. If Maria shouts, the husband should shout back. If my husband if my husband shouts, I should shout back. If he tries to slap, I should slap him back. How many slaps are you going to give a woman really and she remains standing? Now, this is the violence. It is the same. This is the violence. First of all, It is okay for women to attend school. It is very good because the reason why I'm sitting here with INNOSSETU is that we have attained a certain level of education. We may not have attained the maximum level, but a certain level that can enable us to sit right here and give you what we are giving you now. And also speak the language we are speaking with you, which is not our maternal language, and also be able to do other things. All right, which is a very good thing. But the fact that there is more to education than the kind of education the feminism society thinks that women should attain. You see, if at all you as a woman, you do not recognize yourself as a mother, whether you have a child or not, if at the back of your mind, you cannot recognize yourself as a mother, you are a failed woman. I'm sorry, not every woman is able to have children. And when I talk about mother, I'm not meaning English, the English essence of the word mother. Women, whether barren or not, whether infertile or not, a woman is supposed to have that conscious, that mother part. Now, this is something that the feminism part takes away from women. You see, when you're a mother, you are even a mother to someone who is older than you. And this is the funniest thing about women. You're going to be a mother to your husband, even if you are not a biological mother to this very man. And when that mother instinct comes, there is a lot that you forego. There is a lot that you tend to ignore. You'll even see your man behaving childishly. But it just kicks in and you look at him and then you understand, or maybe decide to let that pass, despite of you having a child or not. Now, we have seen a lot of women. I'm going to there is I always talk about this whenever I talk about feminism. There is a certain time the Parliament of Uganda, one of the female member of Parliament asked the women to be paid to be mothers. Every woman should be given allowance for her to be able to take care. For the reason that she has taken care of the child. If you're married to this woman, each time or every month she needs a certain particular amount of money because she's taking care of your child. You see, growing up, my mother usually told me something. My mom told me that when you wake up one time and choose to have children, it should be a decision that you want. Not doing this because a man wants you to. Because at the end of the day, if you think this decision is done, or if you think this man is going to asinayeyo gye yeeyambula nawe eri eyambuliramu bukune
Can you do that?
yaba n'ekibiri kibe kikaddi.
Can you do that in public?
So if you look at so she tells me, if you wake up and you decide to have a child, it should be a decision you make as a person, so that at the end of the day, even if things don't go your way as you planned with this man, you still be in love with your child, because this is a decision you made. I saw I usually don't follow the Kardashians. I don't know their names, but of course I come across Kim Kardashian. I don't know her sisters, but one of her sisters through the interview, I don't know,